Okay, we're going to go over a perfect square trinomial, okay? And we're going to go over factoring excuse me, a perfect square trinomial. So, if you guys notice, this looks kind of different from what we're used to seeing with a trinomial that we factor. But this is a trinomial, this is one term, this is another, and this is another. They're just breaking this one up a little, okay? Again, our standard form, what we're used to seeing is y is equal to ax squared plus b x plus c, right? So there's our c, our b, and our a. Okay. The only difference here is they've drawn comparisons. They've discovered that there's only a few that are like this, that are made this way, and we can square root the first one, square root the last term, so our first term and our last term we can square root, and the roots of those two terms multiplied by 2 will give us the middle term. Kind of confusing. Again, we're going to work backwards first, then we're going to do this, and then I'm going to show you that technically we can just solve this. Remember I talked about 2 days ago learning that one style? That one style will still solve this type of factoring. So, we'll work backwards. Let's say we have a question in factored form already. We're going to expand it so it looks like a perfect square trinomial. So I'm going to expand x plus 9 squared. Okay? This is what we mean by perfect square trinomial. What we're going to get is we're going to get brackets when we expand this that are the same. Okay? And they usually represent it as x plus 9, and then we square it if the brackets are the same. So we're going to expand this here. When we go to expand this, we multiply x by x. This is our FOIL, so first terms. And we're going to get x squared. Outside terms, plus 9x. Inside terms, plus 9x. And last terms, which is 81. When we collect our two middle terms, which you always have to do, we're going to get x squared plus 18x plus 81. Okay? So what that is that was the exact question we're going to deal with here. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up. We've just gone from, we went from our factored form, and we expanded to get it into standard. And I want to show you the comparison between the two. When we go to factor it, what you're going to discover is I can find the square root of this term, the first and the last term. So let's square root both of them. What's the square root of our x squared? Good. Or 1x, whatever you want to call it. Square root of 81? 9. Okay. I'm going to take those two terms and multiply it by 2. Okay? That's the idea in the middle. So we're going to take 2 times 9 times x. What will we get?
18.
Where do you see 18x? In the middle. Oh, I threw a k for some reason, but sorry, that should be an x. Okay. 18x is exactly what our middle term is. So what that's telling us is this is a perfect square trinomial. Okay? So in other words, what we have here is our first term, square root is x. It's the first term in both brackets. And the last term in both brackets is 9. Okay? And the signs are going to be the same. They're either both going to be positive or they're both going to be negative. It depends what the sign is here. Because our sign here is positive, both of these will be positive. If the sign had been negative, then both of these would have been negative. And the way we would represent this is as x plus 9 squared. Now, this can be kind of hard to see. So instead of trying to do it that way, what we can try to do is our old way of factoring. So let's do that exact same example. X squared plus 18x plus 81. Let's find the factors of our first term. So it'll just be 1x and 1x. Factors of the last term. 81 and 1. 3 goes into this. 2, 7? 27? Yep, 27 times. 4 go in? No. 5, no. 6? No. 7? No. No. 7 doesn't go in. 8, no. And 9 goes. Okay, so here are our factors. All right, we're going to put them into our columns. We have a column for the... Oh, jeez. Yeah, there you go. I want it to be red. Column for the first one, and then columns for the other three. Okay? So we go about factoring this. We know our product needs to what? Needs to add up to what we have in the middle, which is 18x. Well, quickly looking at this, which two are we going to end up using? 9 and 9, it looks like, right? So we're going to have 9x and 9x. Okay, perfect. So these will be our first terms. These will be our last terms. Let's put them into brackets. X being the first term in each. And it turns out it's going to be positive 9 as the second term in each. Well, instead of having to remember all that stuff, I factored this normally. I just want you guys to recognize at the end, are both brackets the same? Yeah. Okay, so instead of writing it like that, I would just like you to write it as square. That's it. So this is an easy way to do it. The other way, it's important that we can recognize what is a perfect square trinomial, but we can factor the way we've always been factoring, and just look carefully at your answer. Can I just simplify the answer as one bracket with a square at the end? Now, difference of squares, which we just did, is a little different. You have to be able to recognize that. But this one, really, there is no difference from what we've always been doing. Just recognize your answer at the end.